Bullies cornered a lone girl in the bathroom. Her next move shocked everyone. They say the quiet ones carry the heaviest stories. But what happens when their silence becomes the perfect target? Before we go further, please ensure to like, share, and subscribe for more interesting stories like this one. Mia had only been at Ridgeview High for 3 weeks, but she'd already mastered invisibility. While others competed for attention, she learned to blend in. Head down, steps light, voice barely above a whisper. Not because she lacked thoughts, but because she learned what happened when the wrong people heard them. In her old school, standing out meant standing alone. Here, she decided, she'd do things differently. She'd survive by being unseen. But even shadows can't hide from predators. Ridgeview was polished on the outside, gleaming banners, smiling student council posters, a trophy case that boasted years of clean wins. But every school has its cracks. And in this one, those cracks wore varsity jackets and weaponized charm like armor. Tyler, Marcus, Jaden. Everyone knew their names. Not just because they were popular, but because they were untouchable. Teachers smiled at them in the halls. Girls laughed a little louder when they passed. They weren't just students, they were a system. And the system had power. They didn't need reasons to choose a target. Just boredom. And on a gray Wednesday morning, they found Mia. She was at her locker, swapping textbooks for her first period, when she felt it, that subtle shift in the air. Laughter, too loud and too close. She turned her head just slightly and saw them across the hallway. Tyler's gaze met hers. A smirk curled at the edge of his mouth. He didn't say a word. He didn't have to. That day, the whispers followed her from room to room. Tyler dropped her pencil on the floor and stepped on it before she could reach it. Marcus mimicked her voice when the teacher asked her to read. Jaden passed a note across 5 desks. It said, "Mouse." The cruelty wasn't obvious. Not enough to raise alarms. Just sharp enough to pierce through skin like a needle. No bruises. No blood. Just the quiet kind of violence. The kind no one sees but you feel for days. Mia didn't cry. She didn't raise her hand. She stared ahead. She counted the seconds. She waited for the bell. When lunch came, she sat alone by the window with her sandwich untouched, pretending to read a book she'd already finished twice. The cafeteria hummed around her like a machine, gears turning, conversations overlapping. But Mia was a still frame in the middle of motion. Alone, but not unnoticed. Because they were watching. Across the room, Tyler whispered something into Marcus's ear. They laughed. Jaden raised his phone, pretending to take a selfie, but the camera was angled at her. After school, the building slowly emptied. Students spilled into the parking lot like a flood of color and noise, all rushing home to after-school snacks and video games and soccer practice. Mia moved slower, careful, always waiting a few minutes for the hallway to clear. She didn't like walking in crowds. She didn't like being seen. Her locker was near the end of the 3rd-floor hall. That hallway was different. Too quiet. The lights buzzed with that cold, white glare. Most students avoided it after hours. She reached her locker and noticed the door was slightly ajar. Her stomach dropped. She always locked it. With trembling fingers, she opened it all the way. Her books were there. Nothing stolen, nothing broken. But scratched into the inside of the door, carved deep into the metal with something sharp, were 5 words: bathroom. Now, or we'll find you. The letters were jagged, uneven, but they were unmistakable. Her hands went cold. She turned her head quickly, no one around. Just the hum of a flickering light and the hollow echo of her own heartbeat. Run, her instincts whispered. Get help. Go home. But another voice rose within her. Not loud, not brave, just tired. Tired of running. Tired of pretending not to hear. Tired of letting fear decide who she could be. She closed the locker door. Took one breath. Then another. And she started walking. The bathroom was just down the hall. Every step sounded like thunder on the tiled floor. Her palms were damp. Her grip tightened on her phone, but she didn't open it. Not yet. The door stood ahead. Closed. No light visible from underneath. She stopped. She could turn back. Pretend she didn't see the message. Say she forgot something. Walk away. No one would know. But then she remembered the look on Tyler's face. The smirk. The confidence. The way they laughed like they'd already won. She pushed the door open. It creaked slowly, revealing a dim, empty room. The mirrors were smudged, the tiles pale and sterile. A paper towel dangled from the edge of the trash can. Silence. She stepped inside. And then a click. The door shut behind her. Not slammed. Not forced. Just closed. But the sound of the lock turning echoed like a gunshot. She froze. The bathroom was suddenly colder. Her reflection stared back at her, small, still, silent. Her phone was in her hand. No signal. Of course not. The third floor was always a dead zone. She turned slowly, heart pounding. No voices. No movement. Just her. Alone. Trapped. And in that moment, as she stood in the sterile quiet of that bathroom, something shifted in her eyes. Not panic. Not tears. But something else. A decision. The air in the bathroom felt heavier than it should. Mia stood still, spine straight, trying to control her breathing. The soft hum of the flickering overhead light buzzed louder than her thoughts. She could hear nothing, no footsteps, no voices, but the silence wasn't comfort. It was the kind that came before a storm. And then, the door opened. Not rushed, not loud, just casual, confident. Tyler stepped in first, followed by Marcus and Jaden, their laughter bouncing off the tiles like it belonged there. "Well, look who showed up," Tyler smirked, his voice slicing through the stillness. Jaden whistled low, like Mia was some kind of prize. Didn't think she'd actually come. Guess the mouse has teeth. Mia didn't answer. She didn't move. She watched them like a chess player watches a board, calculating, waiting. Marcus stepped forward, kicked her backpack aside. Books spilled out, pages flapping like injured wings. Oops. The sound made her flinch, but she didn't bend to pick them up. She stayed upright. Still. Jaden lifted his phone, camera lens pointed directly at her. "Say hi to the internet, sweetheart. Maybe we'll make you famous." Tyler's tone turned colder. He moved closer, his frame blocking the mirror behind her. "Unless you want this all over school, you'll cooperate. You get what I mean, right?" Mia didn't speak. She couldn't, not yet. Her heart pounded, but her face didn't betray it. She stared at the cracked corner of the mirror, refusing to meet their eyes. It was a game to them. A joke. And she was the punchline. But she'd been rehearsing for this. Not just the moment, the fear, the pressure, but everything. All those nights pacing her room, talking herself through worst-case scenarios. All the what-ifs. She'd imagined this. Not perfectly, but close enough. Jaden snickered. "What's the matter? Check out your tongue, freak." Tyler leaned in closer, inches from her face. "Or are you just slow?" The words didn't sting. Not like they used to. Mia's hand moved quietly, slipping into the pocket of her jacket. Her fingers found the small object she'd carried for weeks. A quiet lifeline. Not a weapon, yet, but a reminder that she still had a choice. Her breaths grew shallow, her chest rising faster. Not panic. Preparation. She remembered something her grandmother once told her. Courage doesn't feel like fire. It feels like ice. Still. Steady. Cold enough to stop a storm. She gripped tighter. The boys kept circling, but her mind no longer chased their voices. She was inside herself now. Locked in, clear, focused. Marcus leaned against the stall, feigning boredom. "Come on. You're making this boring. Say something." Jaden laughed. "Bet she can't even speak. Mute little rat." Mia turned her head slowly, eyes lifting, not to plead, but to confront. There was no rage, no fury, just clarity. And then she spoke. Soft, controlled, not loud, but sharp enough to cut through all their noise. "You picked the wrong girl." The words didn't echo, but they landed. For the first time, none of them laughed. For a moment, the room froze. Three boys, always so loud, suddenly silent. "You picked the wrong girl." The words hung in the air like smoke. Tyler blinked, caught off guard by her voice, so calm, so deliberate. He recovered quickly, chuckling low, but something in his face had shifted. A crack in the confidence. Jaden lowered his phone just a little. Marcus raised an eyebrow, unsure if this was still a joke. Mia didn't move. Then Tyler scoffed and stepped closer. "Big words, mouse. You rehearsed that in the mirror or something." Still no response. "Whatever," Marcus said, pushing off the stall. "Let's get this over with." That was the moment Mia's fingers closed tight around the small cylinder in her jacket pocket. She moved fast. No screaming. No flinching. Just precision. Her hand snapped out, and before Tyler could react, she sprayed. A sharp burst, direct, unforgiving, straight into his eyes. He howled, stumbling back, hands clawing at his face. The phone dropped from Jaden's hand, clattering onto the tile. With the Marcus lunged forward, but Mia turned quickly, another spray hitting his shoulder and cheek. He backed off fast, cursing, bumping into the stall door. Jaden hesitated, caught between fight and flight. He reached for his phone, but Mia got there first. She kicked it across the floor, the screen shattering against the wall. She backed toward the door, heart thundering in her chest, but her face remained focused. She wasn't out yet. The lock had clicked before, but now, she turned it herself. The door swung open. The hallway beyond was still quiet, mostly empty. But to her, it felt like oxygen rushing back into her lungs. Behind her, chaos unfolded. Marcus cursed loudly. Tyler was crying out, eyes squeezed shut. Jaden just stood there, stunned. But Mia didn't look back. She walked, not sprinting, not panicked. She walked, shoulders square, steps measured. The moment the air hit her face, it felt real. Everything up until now had been a calculation, a test of nerves. But this was release. Her knees shook slightly. She gripped the pepper spray like a lifeline, blinking hard to stay focused. Then she saw someone, a janitor, just locking a nearby classroom. He looked up, surprised. Their eyes met. He took one look at her face, then at the open bathroom door, and knew something wasn't right. "Miss? Are you okay?" Mia tried to speak, but her throat was dry. She managed a small nod. Barely. He reached for his radio. She didn't wait. She kept walking. Her breath still rapid, but steady. Her heartbeat still wild, but contained. Every part of her wanted to collapse, to cry, to scream, to curl up and disappear. But she didn't. Not yet. She made it to the end of the hallway before her legs finally slowed. Her hand trembled now. The adrenaline began to fade. But there was one thing that wouldn't fade. She'd done it. She hadn't broken. Not this time. The next morning, Ridgeview High felt different. Not louder, not quieter, just different. The whispers started early, half-formed, uncertain. Names were passed in hushed tones. Tyler, Marcus, Jaden. But no one said them too loud. No one knew exactly what had happened, but everyone could feel it. The energy had shifted. Mia walked through the halls like always, quiet, alone. But today, the eyes that once looked past her now lingered. Some stared too long, unsure of what they were seeing. Others looked away too fast, as if ashamed they'd never really seen her before. She clutched her phone like armor. Not because she needed it to feel safe anymore, but because it held the truth, proof of what had happened, saved in shaky, breathless audio that captured more than words ever could. The file wasn't long, just a few key minutes. Enough to make their laughter sound cruel. Enough to make her silence deafening. In the counselor's office, she sat across from Ms. Rivera. The woman had soft eyes and a voice like warm tea. She didn't rush Mia, didn't press for details. She waited, let her speak when she was ready. And when Mia finally did, the words came slow, but steady. She told her everything. The hallway, the message, the bathroom. She left nothing out, not even the shaking hands or the fear that nearly kept her from acting. Ms. Rivera didn't interrupt. She didn't try to fix it. She listened. Every word, every pause. And when Mia showed her the recording, she leaned forward, her expression shifting from sorrow to quiet determination. "There's going to be an investigation," she said gently. "You're not alone in this anymore." It didn't feel real yet. The idea that someone believed her, without doubt, without hesitation, was foreign. But Mia nodded. She could feel something loosening in her chest. Not the pain, not yet, but the weight of carrying it alone. Later that day, she was called to the principal's office. A formal report. Questions. Details. Her voice, though soft, didn't falter. Other staff were pulled into quiet conversations behind closed doors. The school nurse examined the light bruising on her arms, her wrist. She wrote everything down. Meanwhile, the 3 desks near the back of her math class sat empty. No backpacks. No jokes. No eyes watching her every move. She noticed people noticing her now. Some students looked surprised. Others looked guilty. No one laughed. And still, she didn't smile. This wasn't triumph. Not yet. Mia walked to her locker that afternoon and found a folded note slipped through the slats. It wasn't threatening. No crude message carved into metal. Just a single sentence, scribbled in pencil. "I'm sorry I never said anything." No name. No signature. Just silence trying to make amends. She didn't know who wrote it. She didn't need to. Because something had broken. Not in her. In them. The silence that once kept her small had started to fracture. And in its place, voices were beginning to rise. Not in mockery, but in defense. Mia stood taller now, not because she wanted to be seen, but because she finally knew she could be. And for the first time, as she walked down the hallway, it wasn't about escaping. It was about returning. 1 week later, the school was quieter, not in volume, but in spirit. Something unspoken lingered in the halls. Even laughter sounded different now, measured, aware. A storm had passed, and everyone still felt the tremors. Mia stood at her locker, staring at the sticker she'd placed there years ago, faded, but still readable. Truth doesn't whisper. It waits. She hadn't remembered it until today. She closed the locker door and turned toward homeroom, but a voice crackled overhead, stopping every student in their tracks. Attention, students. The administration would like to address an important matter regarding a recent incident. Effective immediately, Tyler Reeves, Marcus Bell, and Jaden Cross have been suspended indefinitely following violations of school conduct policies, including harassment, intimidation, and the use of unauthorized recording devices on school grounds. The PA clicked off. Silence. And then, a ripple, one gasp, then two. A wave of whispers surged through the building. Mia could feel it. The shock. The disbelief. The confirmation. It was real. The golden boys of Ridgeview were gone. She didn't cheer. She didn't cry. She simply exhaled, a release so deep, it felt like it had waited years to leave her chest. That day in class, no one passed notes. No one threw paper balls. No one mocked her stutter. They listened. Even the teacher paused when he saw her walk in, offering a small nod. Mia returned it, quietly taking her seat near the window. Outside, the sky was a brilliant blue, as if even the weather knew the page had turned. Later that week, the school counselor invited Mia to speak at a student-led awareness meeting. "Only if you want to," she said gently. Mia hesitated, not because she was afraid. She wasn't the same girl anymore, but because the thought of telling her story aloud felt strange. Not painful, just real. Still, she agreed. The room wasn't packed, but it was full enough. Teachers, parents, students. Even the principal sat in the back. Mia stood at the podium, no microphone, no note cards. Just her. Alone. But not really alone. She began slowly. "I used to believe that silence would keep me safe," she said, her voice soft but clear. "That if I just stayed quiet, didn't make waves, the bad stuff would pass me by. But I was wrong." The room listened. No one interrupted. When people think of bullies, they imagine fists, bruises, obvious things. But most of the time, it doesn't look like that. Most of the time, it's smaller. A joke you're not in on. A look that makes you shrink. A message on your locker that no one sees but you. She paused, breathing. "I wasn't brave because I fought back. I was brave because I refused to let their story be louder than mine." There was a long silence after she finished. And then, slowly, applause. Not thunderous, not dramatic. Just steady. Meaningful. One by one, students came up to her afterward. Some she barely knew. Others had laughed with the boys. But now, they said things she never expected to hear. "I'm sorry. I saw what they did. I just didn't know what to do. I should have said something. Thank you." Not all apologies heal. Not all words undo harm. But Mia listened. And she nodded. Because she understood something now. Change doesn't begin when people speak. It begins when they finally stop pretending they can't hear. The next morning, something even more unexpected happened. As she entered the school lobby, a bulletin board caught her eye. A new flyer had been pinned to the center. Bold red letters read, "Student Safety Coalition. Join us in standing up, speaking out." Below it were 10 signatures. Mia's was the first. She didn't start the movement to be seen. She didn't walk into that bathroom to become a symbol. But sometimes, the smallest acts, speaking, standing, surviving, echo further than we ever imagined. In the weeks that followed, the school implemented new protocols. Anonymous reporting tools. Counselor drop-in hours. Monthly workshops on bullying and student rights. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. And as for Mia, she changed. Not overnight. Healing doesn't work like that. But she began to laugh again. Not often, but when she did, it was genuine. She found friends. One in chemistry class who lent her a calculator and never gave it back, and another from the art club who asked her to draw with her after school. They didn't see her as the girl who brought down the bullies. They saw her. Just her. One afternoon, as the bell rang and students poured out into the sunshine, Mia lingered near the school steps. A younger student approached her, nervous, clutching a notebook. "Are you Mia?" the girl asked. Mia nodded. The girl glanced down. "I get picked on sometimes. I didn't think I could do anything about it until I heard your story." Mia crouched down to meet her gaze. "You're stronger than you think," she said. "You don't have to be loud to be powerful." The girl smiled, nodded, and ran off to catch her bus. Mia stood, watching her go. A breeze lifted her hair, and for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel small. She felt solid, present, whole. And as she walked away from the school that had once tried to break her, she didn't carry fear. She carried fire. If you enjoyed this story, ensure to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing, heartfelt stories like this. Also, let us know where you are watching from, and drop your thoughts in the comments. We read every one of them. What did you think of Mia's courage, or the way Tyler, Marcus, and Jaden were finally held accountable? Do you believe Ridgeview High changed for the better? Would you have done what Mia did? Let's talk about it below. Your voice matters, just like hers did. And remember, sometimes, the quietest people have the loudest stories to tell.